All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Dr. Sean, the physical therapy application coach, here with Gal. How are you doing, Gal?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. It's late. It's way later for you right now than it is for me, but it's been a long day, and I'm sure it's been longer for you with being in the thick of PT school. But thank you for taking the time to come on and to share your inspiration and your experience and your wisdom with future pre-physical therapy
Of
students.
course, of course.
So let's go ahead and jump right into that. Let's talk about, tell us a little bit about your pre-PT journey, kind of from start leading up to when you were getting ready to start applying.
All right. So for undergrad, I went to school at the University of Central Florida in Orlando, and I was a psychology major. I really wasn't sure what I was interested in. I knew I wanted to go somewhere in the healthcare route, and my coworker's sister happened to work at a clinic near Orlando. She was a physical therapist, and she was like, "You should just go shoot her an email, check her out." And that was my first initial shadowing experience with physical therapy. I have never been to physical therapy. I've never broken anything, never had to go. So I was like, you know what, this could be something I'm interested in. So I went, and just the way she worked with her patients, just like her day-to-day schedule, I was just so inspired. And I was just like, this is what I want to do.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. So then after that, what happened?
Yeah, so then after that, things started getting real, and it was starting to, okay, I need to apply and see what I need to do. So from there, I kind of just made a plan, like figured out what prerequisites I had to take, since I wasn't like a science like major or health sciences. So
Sure.
instead of switching majors, I'm like, you know what, I'll just take the prerequisites that I need. So I had to figure that out. And then I started shadowing more places, but then COVID happened. And luckily, one of the clinics that I shadowed at, they were still operating normally, which is very rare in COVID times.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to have a technician position at that clinic as well. So I was really able to interact with patients and do more of a day-to-day type things with physical therapy. And that's where it really solidified my decision to apply. And what during that time, I was only taking on my last prerequisite. The application was starting to open up. I was in the midst of taking the GREs, and that was also a weird transition since we were able to take it at home, and the GREs was a whole new ball game too.
Right. So it sounds like one of the biggest or the most important things for you was getting that hands-on experience in the
Mhm.
clinic to really decide if it was for you, right?
Exactly.
Because I don't know how many times people will come and be like, is this a good career for me? Like, I can't tell you that. I don't know for sure, right? Like, and even when you're in your pre-physical therapy stage, right? Like your perspective is going to change as you go to different settings and you know more and things like that. So I think that's great that you stayed persistent in your efforts to try to get in and shadow. Like obviously hours are important, but I think it helped you mature with your expectation and your relationship with the field as well. So that's great.
Mhm.
Um, so what advice would you give to people if they're struggling to find observation hours?
I would just try to be persistent, really try to look at different clinics or even see if they have maybe virtual options through Zoom. I know those options are becoming more readily available nowadays, but just don't give up, find those hours, you'll get there.
Yeah. And it sounds like your first experience was just someone in your own personal network, right?
Mhm.
Like you had someone who knew somebody, right? And
Mhm.
that's it's so overwhelming. I remember when I first started trying to get observation hours, like no one in my family is healthcare. I don't have like any immediate contacts that were in that sphere. And it wasn't until I finally admitted to one of my friends, I was like, hey, I'm really looking to try to get a job in physical therapy, or at least start getting some observation hours. And her brother-in-law worked at a clinic for like 3 years and was just getting ready to leave, type of a thing. And so I had like called all these clinics and I tried by myself, but it wasn't until I knew somebody who could get my foot in the door. And that made all the difference. So I think those are kind of the two big keys that you shared, is work with your network and then just be persistent, and opportunities will come your way. Awesome. So now we get up to the point where it's time to start applying, and the GRE is in full swing. The weight of your essays is on your back. You're trying to fill out all your applications, all this stuff, right? So talk me through that process and what led you to seek help.
So my initial reason for wanting to seek help was my essays, because I had different like stories about my background that I wanted to include, but at the same time you have to kind of include how to like sell yourself too, and not just where you come from, and how to incorporate it with a profession. And my issue was just tying everything together to get the admissions committee to see like who I am and also what I can bring to the table as well. So
Sure.
that was my issue, just having it all like connect and like relate to one another.
Sure. Sure. And that was something I forgot to have you do right off the bat. I mean, you got a pretty interesting background, right? So give people a little bit of an insight as to like some of the diversity you have in as an applicant, just coming in with your heritage and your family and your life experiences where you've lived before.
So yeah, I was born in Israel, and then at the age of 4, we moved down to Miami, Florida, and it was definitely coming very culture shock, going from another country to separate country with a whole different language, and especially Miami being such a melting pot of diversity, it was even more of a culture shock, because
Sure.
I was just used to coming from a place where everyone was so similar to a place where everyone just so diverse, especially in Miami.
That's true. That's true.
Hmm.
All my applicants from major populated areas in Florida are just like, it's amazing, and what a cool place that you just have people that are like, they just appreciate that people are different, because no one's the
Hmm.
same. um,
Exactly.
so thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Sorry, that was a little bit late. So then you wanted to get help basically identifying like, I have so much I want to talk about and all these big ideas, like how do I do it? So how did you find out about physical therapy application coach?
I was actually just scrolling through Instagram, and I was just searching up like physical therapy coach, and I came across your page, and your page just really like caught my eye. So I'm like, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'll just send you a message, tell you
Mhm.
where I'm at. And from there we just set up a meeting, and
Voila.
yeah, voila.
So for someone who's feeling like you, where you're overwhelmed, you're not sure how to be able to like sell yourself or to condense it so it's nice and concise, um, why do you feel like this service was beneficial for you? How do you feel like it helped you?
I think this is such a crucial part of like anyone's life, like applying to therapy school. It's a time commitment, financial commitment. Like you want to start off on a very good foot, or at least try to. And I like you said, like no one in my family was really in healthcare, so no one could really help me. And I knew you had experience, you knew what you were doing, and I just knew you would see all my credentials, where I'm coming from, and know like how to make like me sound like the best version of myself to the admissions committee.
Perfect. Because that's all we really have to do, is we have to
Hmm.
distill it down and say, like sometimes applicants have stuff they want to talk about. And I'm like, yeah, it's
Hmm.
not really like, it's very similar. And there's a temptation as a pre-PT to be like, I want to sound the same because it's safe, right?
Hmm.
There is safety and sameness. But at the same time, it's also dangerous because then you just blend in with the rest of the herd. Um,
Hmm.
and so I think that was crucial for us to sit down and look at like, what's different about you? What experiences do you have? Being someone who immigrated to the United States, living in a very diverse city, that gives you a lot of different perspectives about understanding and appreciating diversity and what it's like to be different from other people. And that was a major selling point, because we have to identify like what are these admissions committees looking for? And sometimes what pre-PTs think is different than what the admissions committee wants. And that's all I do is just funnel and direct all these good things you've been doing as you like hastily run around during your years in undergrad. Like, let me grab this experience, grab this and serve
Mhm.
here and do this. How do we condense that down into something that is concrete and highlights what's awesome about you as a person? And I think that, because we worked on essays and interviews, right?
Mhm.
So how do you feel like, besides the essay portion, how do you feel like the interview coaching made a difference in your application process?
So for the interview portion, I felt like it just gave me good practice how I wanted to get my point across. Because you think you have an idea in your head how you want to say things and how you want to say them, but it's different than actually saying it and practicing it and really getting your message across.
That's so true. It's true. And was it like, I'm not trying to trick you with this question. Was it hard to prepare for interviews, or did it just take effort?
I personally thought it was a combination of both for
Right.
me. Like it was hard when I tried practicing it on my own, but the more my sessions with you, it felt kind of more natural
Hmm.
to answer these questions on the spot. So that's why I think it's very beneficial to have a coach like you that you could just practice questions. You could throw any questions at me, and I know how to kind of like answer them in a specific way where I'm able to answer the question and show what I can bring to the table as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, there are too many questions that they could ask you. Right? Like, there's a
Hmm.
million questions they could ask. So there's no way that I could prepare you for every single question, but we help you like identify like these are types of questions that they're going to ask you and how you can field them. And I think you're exactly right. Like, the more you practice and the more feedback you get from people, you're going to get better. Like, regardless, as long as you take the feedback and you apply it, you're going to get better. And that's why, when I kind of asked you that leading question there, I genuinely believe that every person, even if you're very shy or you're not a good public speaker or whatever, right, you can be a great interviewer if you just practice and you have confidence and ownership over why you deserve to come to their program. um, and I know we talked about this as well, as like, if you don't believe it, then they won't believe it, type of a thing. And that was really cool to watch you, like, over time as you first started, seeing that you're like, I don't know if I deserve to, like, I don't know if I'm good enough, type of a thing. And that even started with your essays. And over time, it's just like this snowball effect where you get that first interview invite and it's time to party, and we got to nail this because we're almost there. We're at the finish line, right? Um, and then to finally see you turn the corner when we did our last interviews call, and to be like, she gets it, she like believes it, and she's willing to express that in a way that's articulate and that's going to work. um, and that's my favorite part of coaching, is it's not about like only having like the best applicants, because I love the people who feel like they don't have a chance, right? Like, or they're like, I just don't feel like I really stand out, or I'm kind of average, because I love to help those people wow people when they go interview, and just share like, this is why you want me at this program. Like, it's not that I'm better than other people, but out of all of them, you're going to want me because I have what you're looking for. And you can identify that. So let's get to the fun part. So you went through the interview process. Tell me about the schools that you interviewed with and where you ultimately decided to go to PT school.
Um, so I actually I didn't go to any interviews because I got my first choice acceptance
There
right
you
away
go.
to Nova Southeastern. But I'm definitely taking these interview skills with me because I'm gonna need them for very, very long time in any setting. And those are skills that I'm going to use for a very long time. But I ultimately got into my first choice in Nova Southeastern University,
Nice.
and I'm currently in my second semester.
That's crazy. Look at
Mhm.
that. in
I
no
know.
time at all, in less than a year.
I know.
You are just rolling. So, what advice or perspective would you give to pre-PTs who are applying right now or who will be applying in the future?
The advice I would give is just to keep being positive. I would just stay organized, set deadlines to finish those supplemental essays, that main essays, set deadlines to practice your interview skills, set deadlines for your GRE, your practice exams. Just make sure you're on top of everything, and naturally, like, everything will get done. Because I know once you start, you feel like you have a million things to do, but just take it little by little.
That's awesome. Good perspective, because it's a beast and it's overwhelming,
Mhm.
and everybody's anxiety just like comes through in the
Oh,
calls. You're
yeah.
like, just, we got to get one thing done today. Just get that thing
Mhm.
done. Um, so Gal, thank you so much for taking the time to come on. And I think it's so fun to watch you as you're like in PT school, you're in the thick of it. Sometimes we do these interviews and people are, they don't start school for a few months, but
Mhm.
I think now it's just, there's this different maturity about you that you're like, I'm in my program, I'm working towards my goals, and you're going to be getting done with your first year before you know it, which is just crazy
Mhm.
to think.
I
Um,
know.
so keep us posted if you need help with anything. You're a part of the Patapco family. Don't forget about all those resources that I shared with you in your packet to help you transition and to help you be successful as you study and move into future DPT. Dr. Mintz coming at you, right?
Hoping.
Yeah. All right, Gal. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you sometime soon. We'll have to do a follow-up video, see how things are
I
going.
know. Oh, yeah, anytime.
Thanks, Gal.
Of course.